This presentation is on Books 1 and 2 of the Iliad by Homer. Throughout this book, we will encounter many new characters, and it is important to make note of the different characters that are introduced. And it is also helpful if you could make some type of family tree or some kind of chart that would show the different characters. That way you can keep track of who does what and also when they do it and what themes are incorporated and are representative of each character. One of the most prominent characters within this book is Achilles, and he is the greatest warrior of the Achaean army. And the Achaeans are the Greek army, so anytime that it refers to Achaeans, that is meaning the Greek side and not the Trojan. The Achaeans are also noted as the Danaans as well. Agamemnon is the head of the Achaean army against Troy and is basically a nemesis to Achilles. Even though they're on the same side, they are battling each other within the larger picture of the war. Chryses is a priest whose daughter was abducted as a war prize by the Greeks. And then Chryseis is a war prize of Agamemnon, as well as Briseis. These are two of the female characters who were taken basically as property and given. One was given to Agamemnon, and then one was given to Achilles, and then Agamemnon takes Achilles' war prize. Calchas is a seer or soothsayer or prophet who offers advice, and then Athena is the goddess of wisdom, the daughter of Zeus. Nestor is an old Achaean warrior who offers advice, and there are many, many times throughout the story that he offers advice, and it is oftentimes in long passages that are not necessarily moving the plot forward, but they are giving reference to things that the reader at that time would have been familiar with, such as cataloging and promoting a sense of nationalism. And then Odysseus is also one of the most famous Greek or Achaean warriors that is introduced into Book 1. Patroclus is a friend of Achilles, and it is sometimes he's regarded as his nephew or basically his prodigy. It is Patroclus is someone who Achilles has invested a lot of time in personally, showing him the ropes in order to make him a good warrior. Menelaus is the brother of Agamemnon and the husband of Helen, who has left the Spartans to be with Paris. Thetis is the mother of Achilles. She is a nymph, so she is an immortal, therefore making Achilles a demigod. And then Zeus is the king of all of the gods, the husband of Hera, and who is the wife, of course, of Zeus and the queen of the gods. So there are many, many new characters that are introduced just within this very first book. Book 1, as in all epics, begins in medias res, which is Latin for in the middle. And we are basically dropped into the middle, of course, of the action. And it is going to take the rest of the book to go back and give the reader the backstory leading up to this. And then once that this point where we are beginning is encountered again, we can then move forward with new things, and we will, as the reader, we will encounter them as they are happening, somewhat, in the broad sense, in real time. We begin with the quarrel between Achilles and Agamemnon, and Chryseis and Briseis are taken as war prizes, and Calchas advises the fighters what they should do, that they must stop this fighting, they must give the girls back in order for the plagues and to stop raining down upon the Greeks. Because Agamemnon takes Achilles' prize, Achilles then pulls out of the war, and we do not see him until much later. He is totally going to pull out of the war. Even though this book, the first line is sing of the rage of Peleus' son Achilles, and that is basically, that first line tells us the entirety of the book. This is what the remaining chapters of the book are going to revolve around. Not necessarily the Trojan War as a whole, but trying to vindicate the wrongdoing that has been done to Achilles, so that his rage can be satisfied. Achilles' fate is different from everyone else because he is basically, we learn up front that he is given a choice. He can either live a old, prosperous life, live a long time, and then after 3 or 4 generations, he's not going to be remembered, or he can die young and he will be basically become immortalized. And this is ultimately going to be the choice that Achilles chooses. However, we see that he does find out that he has made a mistake once he meets with Odysseus, once we get into the Odyssey. Because Achilles pulls out of the war, he is basically, in so many words, pouting because he did not get his way. He wants to be, he is known as the best Greek warrior, and he wants to be heralded that way. And then when Agamemnon takes away his prize, he's going to pull out and not give any more help to the rest of the Greek soldiers. When that happens, he goes and complains to his mother, Thetis, who then goes and talks to Zeus to see what can be done to basically make Achilles' situation better. And so she comes up with this plan, and Zeus follows along with it, that they will make the Greeks appear, because they're ultimately going to win the war, but they're going to appear as if they're not going to, and that they're going to lose unless Achilles pulls back or comes back and saves them. And so this is what is going to ultimately glorify Achilles. When Hera finds out about this plan, she is absolutely outraged and angered because of her jealousy. She is immensely jealous of Zeus's talking to, being with any other women, and Zeus is with a lot of women. So just because of his past misdeeds, Hera has justification for her jealousy. Themes that are important to note within this book, and some that you can note for the rest of the book, are that of gender roles. Women are viewed as property, and this is interesting to note and to find the different characters that fall into this theme. It is also a good idea, as I mentioned, not just only to make a chart of the different characters that are introduced as you're reading, but also a chart to highlight the different themes that are encountered. And that way, if you find an example that may fit or support that theme, to make note of it, and it will make your essay and research paper writing a lot easier. Honor is another theme that is paramount in this throughout this book, as well as all of the other epics. The code of honor is basically an unspoken or unwritten code by which men live by. They are living by integrity, truth, what is right. They're going to defend their home, their country, their families, and it is very prominent. If men do not live up to that, then they are highly despised and looked down upon. Because Achilles is interested in this code of honor, he is not interested in materialistic prizes. And the question to ask, is his anger justified because he feels that this code of honor has been breached? Another theme that is prominent is that of fate versus free will. And that is something really to watch with Achilles. He has a choice. Is his pride going to be his tragic flaw, because he is going to make the choice ultimately about he has the free will to make the choice regarding his fate? And then that of the mortals versus the immortals, and the ways in which they treat each other. The mortals, it's going to appear, are submissive and subjective to the immortals, who are continually using the humans as pawns in their own little squabbles. And Zeus and Hera, Thetis, Athena, they are all examples of this. Book 2 is going to revolve around Zeus's plan to aid Achilles in his revenge. Because remember, we want the Greeks are going to have to suffer until Achilles can come back and save them. Agamemnon then gets a dream, and he is convinced that they can overtake Troy. And this is basically in order to get the men to run in and fight, because everybody's tired. We're in the 10th year of the war. They're going to come in and they're going to fight. He is, by being convinced, he goes in prematurely. They get beaten down, and then because they are momentarily beaten down, he's about ready to throw in the towel and decides to test his men. When he does so, the men are going to fail the test. They are tired of the war. They are ready to go back to the ships, because he basically says, hey, let's just go home. And they are all, jumping up and down ready to do that, and he thought that they would go, oh no, let's stay and fight. And when they don't do that, he is highly discouraged, and there is a great lack of commitment on the part of the Greeks. They have been set up to fail, and this is part of the deal with Zeus helping Thetis. Hera again is angry because she loves the Greeks and wants them to succeed. And also within this book, we see many, many catalogs. This gives in-depth description of divisions. It promotes nationalism among the readers because the listeners, if the story was told in an oral, as an oral narrative, people who were listening would hear their ancestors or hear people of their family, of their coat of arms, different things like that. So it was very important that Homer included this within his tale.